We are here today, Thursday, March 12th, for the Court Services Advisory Board regular meeting agenda. I will call this meeting to order. Notice of the meeting was properly posted on March 11th, 2026. We will do roll call first.
Randy Mertens in for Commissioner Brian Long.
Rick Warren.
Ted Stoner.
Jim Anderson for Sheriff Tommy Johnson.
Butch Freeman.
Jim Radford for ADA Bahena.
I'm Bridget Little for the Public Defender's Office. First on the agenda is discussion and possible action regarding the minutes of December 11th, 2025.
Move we approve the minutes.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Second, we have discussion and possible action regarding the election of the chairman and vice chairman for calendar year 2026.
I move we retain the same people that are currently the chair and vice chair. I do not feel they have suffered enough yet.
I'll second.
All in
Let the
favor?
suffering begin.
I don't know how I feel about that. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you all, I think. Number 3, discussion and possible action regarding the resignation of Kent Bridge from the Oklahoma County Court Services Advisory Board. We handed out, here's his resignation letter, which says, I've loved working on this board since Judge Ethan invited me to take Robert Manchester's spot, but I believe I'm ineligible to continue serving as he has accepted the position of the Oklahoma County Public Defender's Office. So, and that spot, I asked for a copy of the bylaws. That spot was filled by a private attorney. So I think if anybody wants to have a discussion or if we want to think about who we want to appoint in the future, I think it said that that was determined by the judges or by the judge on this board. So I'm sure Judge Stoner wants a moment to think about who that would be or who he would be requesting. So
To be the judiciary row to appoint or, okay.
and so if we want to, can we?
You want to continue, so you.
I'd ask if we continue to the next meeting and maybe consider possible options and see if he sits squarely within the line discretion.
Yes, and I believe previously in the original it was Judge Davis and Judge Beecham who were actually on the board, so there were 2. So maybe we can revisit at the next meeting. Maybe we'll add an item to see if we want to have both the spots, Judge Spots filled. But yes, it said that was judges.
Thank you.
How long was Ken on this board? Does anyone know? He was here a while, wasn't
Few years.
How long?
A little bit like
Well, I mean, if it was Judge Deason,
he? Yeah.
at least a decade.
Sure.
I remember decent well.
How old an old boy you getting to be there, Judge?
Starting my 9th year. Or is that what you're asking about? Like
No, I was asking your physical age.
58. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, 58.
Well, I won't say a word.
My daughter's age.
You got 2 years.
It proceed.
Most of your grandkids.
Good.
And we have, so just for the record, we have received this resignation letter. So all in favor of receiving that, motion to receive that. Do I have a motion to receive that?
You have a motion received.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? That will be received. And then we will give Judge Stoner some time to think about who to appoint to this board. And then for number 4, we have discussion of possible action regarding a statistical report by team.
Hi. I passed out a bunch of information. I won't go over all of it, but feel free to ask me any questions about it. I will highlight, I'm looking just at the last quarterly report that we filed. We screened 1,526 individuals. 4 OR release recommendations were made. Total conditional bond recommendations were 2090. And we served 1,054 unique participants in that time period, but the average per month was 789. 1,271 court dates, 229 failures to appear, which makes our failure to appear rate for that time period, 18%.
How is that running? How does that compare with previous time periods?
About the same. So it varies from honestly 12% to 18.5%, which we would call 19%, but it stays within that range. There are certain months where it's higher. August, for some reason, is a really high month. So January,
15% or so.
yeah, January was 15%. If I remember correctly, I think December hit us pretty hard. I think that was a higher month.
Does the judiciary, it's easy for me to say, do you have any concerns with this? Or do you even have any thoughts about it?
My main question around does this appear to be in line with the national average?
Yes, we are actually in contact with APPR, which I always get it wrong for Advancing Pre-Trial Research, Policy and Research. And we have advisors from them that we speak to about this, and they're happy with our numbers. They look at FTA rate and new arrest rate, and we've consistently received good feedback from them.
Even the surety bonds are in a similar category. They're probably 10 to 15%, possibly. I don't know for sure, but it seems about right to me. I've been around this for a long time.
We always want it to be better. We do text message reminders. Our population, their phone numbers do often change, so we try to update that as much as possible, and we do direct people to the QR code now on LSCN, so they're also receiving reminders from the court. So we offer transportation. We do a lot of, someone can't make it, so we drop everything and drive them to court that morning. So a lot. Sorry, any other questions about that?
On the total OR release recommendations, it looks like from January there were only 2. What is the biggest obstacle that you're seeing with people? Like, that seems very low. So do you know why it's recommending?
I think getting approval is maybe one barrier to ORs, but to be honest, sometimes, so this is from our referral source. There are times that ORs are released during arraignment that we haven't screened yet, and we put those in our system and we do track them and send them court reminders and offer assistance if they're needing help. But those weren't screened by us, so I don't count them in this report. Does that make sense?
Yes. Are you seeing a lot of I don't know if you're able to answer this. Are you seeing a lot of the lower level misdemeanors get OR and team bonds, or are you seeing any obstacles with that? And I ask because we've made it to where misdemeanors have court within 7 to 10 days, but there were 27 in custody misdemeanors set yesterday. And so I'm wondering, I guess that seems like a lot of low level offenders to have not gotten out. And do you think the screenings, the backgrounds, like, are we seeing any obstacles in that?
I would want to dig deeper, and that's interesting. Look deeper into that. It is possible that there were more serious backgrounds for the low level charges, and that's potentially why there was an objection. It could be that
Could also be they're in custody on a felony and a misdemeanor. They have concurrent cases possibly. I mean, you think it's just the only thing was holding them was just a misdemeanor?
Yes, there were 39 individuals. The 27 only had misdemeanors.
Just misdemeanor.
So,
was that today's docket?
Yes,
Yesterday.
Do y'all really look at the low end as far as lesser charges? Do y'all watch that as well as the felonies?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we screen everyone who is booked in except for those that are on the exclusionary list. And there's 21 charges, so misdemeanors we're always looking at. But I really want to look at that, Bridget, and go deeper and see what the backgrounds and objections were. I'll just mention, so one thing that we're always trying to do is decrease the amount of time someone is in custody before we can secure the order for their release. January, our average days in custody before the order was signed was 6 days. And the only reason it was that high, it looks like it was impacted by a backlog created from the holiday closures, and then there was a snow day, so there were some backlogs. February was 3 days, so we're pretty happy with that. I would love for it to be 2 or less. But we're trying. Also, we did secure a technical assistance grant with APPR, which I mentioned earlier. And it's a 12-month technical assistance where their professionals are coming in and working with us to align all of our pretrial practices with best practices. So we're really excited about that. And we are about halfway through our national accreditation process.
Have you had any issues? My office has been getting notices, issues where people have done all your work and you've got them ready to release, but yet it takes 24 to 3 days to get them out, even after a bond's been posted or ORs have been done, and they still don't just walk out like the timely manner.
Yeah, our current arrangement with the jail is that we send them the orders of releases as soon as they are signed, and they get them ready. And there have been times where it's been a little bit slow, but
When you say a little bit, what would you call a little bit slow?
maybe a day or so lag.
A couple of days.
Just one, I would say, typically. But now we're getting them out. We've been getting them out pretty quickly.
You say,
Within the same day, usually.
but it still could be 5, 6, 7 hours.
From signing, actually, lately we've been getting them within maybe 4 hours, 3 or 4 hours.
I will just let everyone know, Ms. Bahena and I and team all had a meeting with the jail recently because of the concern anytime someone gets a team bond, we didn't want that individual's not posting a cash bond, so someone else could be released at 8 p.m. at night. We didn't want someone getting a team bond. They have to be picked up usually by 4 p.m., by 5 p.m. Team staff members were staying late to get them in there by 5, but a lot of these individuals need housing, so they get to the case manager and they have to find them housing. So we met with the jail. Mr. Holman, the chair, was there. Everyone was there. They were extremely cooperative. And so in the past, we had people who were having to stay till the next day. And since that's happened, every day team interviews the people over video. They get the releases signed. They go to the jail by noon, and they have been having them out by around 3 ever since we had that meeting, which was a couple of weeks ago. They have been on it. They're, of course, they don't try to prioritize anyone, but they've been making a huge effort, huge push. And I think since we had that meeting, almost all of the people that get turned in that day are released for 2 different housing things. So that was an amazing shout out to team, shout out to the jail and their staff, because that was a huge thing to happen.
It's a great improvement. It's wonderful.
I also just want to say thank you to team and the jail's court services members who pulled the NCICs. I know everyone from the jail trust meeting is, of course, talking about the raises that the jail got, but what no one's talking about is the statistics that in the last 8 months they've only had one death, and that is the lowest since the jail trust started. And I think that is a lot of reason that is 89 people getting out in January, and so I think a lot of that is thanks to team and getting people out and jail trust.
The team had a lot to do with it.
Any other questions from anyone?
I'll second that appreciation.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
And number 5, discussion and possible action regarding a report from the DA's office for the GPS monitoring. She did pass this out also.
Okay, my numbers are running very, very close every single month. If I lose one, I get one. So participants that are actively on units, I have 36. There's 33 males and 3 females. The active units are 14, passive units in use are 22. I have 23 participants that are still in the jail waiting to post bond. Their bonds are usually high, and that's why it takes a little longer for them to post bond. I have 2 indigent participants right now. Self-pay 34, no medical OR participants. I don't have any team bonded out with GPS through me anymore. 4 people were returned to custody this fiscal year for everything from not complying to not paying, their fees and not following the conditions, whatever the judge has decided for them. If they didn't do, the judge issued a warrant. Got 1 failure to appear and 1 lost unit. The failure to appear was my lost unit. He was not on a private bond, he was on a bench OR. And I think Judge Stoner jinxed me because I didn't have any up to that point.
Was it mine?
No. You had said something that you don't have any lost unit?
Yeah.
Well, I didn't
right,
until.
Okay.
So I do have a lost unit for that. Fees collected for this fiscal year so far is $49,768.06, and that is as of yesterday.
I'm just curious about the lost units, how that's handled, like who pays for that?
And it will be paid for by the county, and it depends on the type of unit. Some of the units have a little bit more technologically advanced than others. So if it doesn't have the Wi-Fi, it'll be cheaper. Then I think that I was told the maximum amount that would be paid out for a lost unit is $1,050.
$1,000.
What's the difference between an active GPS and a passive GPS?
Download.
Because since I'm not on either one of them.
It's download speeds. A passive GPS will automatically download every 6 hours.
Oh, okay.
Unless you manually tell it to, or there's a violation. An active one will automatically download every 2 hours. It is the same way. If there is a violation, it's automatic. You can download the speeds anytime you want to, and you can put it in pursuit mode where it downloads every 30 seconds.
So they both process the same information, just on a different sequence, sort of.
Yep. Okay. So it's the exact same unit. It's just when you're enrolling them, whether you click it to be passive or active.
Okay.
Butch, can I see your other end?
I took them off before I came in here.
The funny thing is about that is I've actually had some of the DAs and attorneys come to me and say, hey, can you put a unit on me so I know what it feels like?
Oh.
Well, who better to know what it feels like and be able to argue your case than an attorney that's wore one and knows what it feels like. So.
I'm not interested.
You just don't want to know where you're at.
That's also true.
That's what you're doing.
Well, it'll tell you how fast you're going and, when you're sleeping, standing, and, all of that. Any other questions?
Thank you. We next have citizen participation. No one signed up. Are there any board comments? Any new business? Anyone have a motion to adjourn?
Go ahead, Victor.
All in favor?
Let it be noted that the commissioner got here in time to make the motion to adjourn.
Now this board comes on for the Treatment Courts Advisory Board regular meeting agenda. Today is Thursday, March 12th. I will call this meeting to order. Notice of this meeting was properly posted on March 11th, 2026. We will pursue roll call.
There's one. Judge Stoner.
Jim Anderson for Sheriff Tommy Johnson.
Butch Freeman.
Jim Anderson for Vicky Bennett.
And Bridget Biffle. First is discussion and possible action regarding the minutes of December 11th, 2025. Does anyone have a motion to approve?
I move we approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Second is discussion and possible action regarding the election of chairman and vice chairman for calendar year 2026.
I make the motion that we retain the current chair and vice chair because, again, just as in the previous, they have not suffered enough yet.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? And number 3, discussion and possible action regarding the approval of a board to oversee the operation of treatment courts. That was requested for by Ms. Mahena before Mr. Redford. Do you know if we're just want to, can we pass that?
You can pass that, yes, please.
Okay. And number 4, discussion and possible action regarding an update for treatment works regarding operations.
All right. So we'll hand these out real quick. So, you guys want-
Oh, is this what you sent me?
Yeah.
Oh,
So the first one that. All right, so the first one that we have up is going to be the drug court data. So we have, and I apologize, eventually we're going to have color copies back, so it's a little bit easier to read. We're just in the process of moving an office and that printer is not hooked up. So first page, we have the gender and race ethnicity. So 80.6 in male and 19.4 in drug court. Then you can see the breakdown of the race ethnicity on the next page. So then after that, we have the in and out for the program for the months of January and February, and then the application data for received application and approvals and denials by admissions, graduation, and revocation. So. And the next page will give you your application demographics and your approval and denial rates. And that last part on that page is the approval denial on that. So that's the drug court. So any questions on that?
Unreported. What's the name of it? Unreported denials? Means it's like you're. What does that mean? It just says unreported, unreported.
That's it.
Huh?
So,
Oh, I see. So you're not really know
so
what
yeah,
they
whenever
are.
they put
I
the
got you.
application in, they'll give us the demographics. And so if it's unreported, then that's how it's running. And then we add it whenever they go into the DC webs, we'll actually have their demographics. So this is just pulled off of the initial application. There's various reasons for unreported. Most of it is just them not filling out the application correctly.
Yeah, and I was gonna, I'm gonna ask a question at the end of the DUI court data that you got.
Okay.
Here. I know they're really compiled together.
All right. And then next we have DUI court data for the same. And I don't know how the agenda goes. Does the agenda have?
No, you're good.
Okay. So we have the same for the male and then the race ethnicity and the in and outs and the application data. And then application demographics, denial data for demographics. And then that covers the DUI portion of the demographics and the applications.
Tony, we do get that monthly update from the Department of Mental Health. They said our numbers were around 450.
So the active counts, yeah, I think
Yeah.
it was it 4, I want to say it was 4, may have been a little bit higher than that.
Yeah, it was like 450, 460, something
Yeah.
in that range.
Correct.
Yeah, and I was just curious, man, I know it's been perfectly add up here, but usually it's about 93, but maybe some overlap or something, I'm not sure. But my question though was really about still that's the funding. I know that DMH is funding us for a less amount than we have in our program. I know that we were talking about that.
Yeah, so the way the ODMH contract runs, the core contract, so we have what we call just the core contract, then we have 781 funds. So the core contract is supposed to be by the head count of how many people you have in there. But whenever you actually really ask them, okay, how is that figured? It's not just that it's by like, okay, who is active in the program? So we may have, let's say, pled in, we'll just use for easy math, 500 people. Okay, let's just say there's 500 people that have pled in. 25 of those are in treatment or AWOL. for longer than 30 days, we can no longer claim them active. So then we would change them in the DC web system, which is the ODMH system, and then we would get credit for that 475. That's the top level. And then if we have ins and outs during that time for like graduations or revocations, then it becomes like this prorated math that makes it start to be complicated to figure out, okay, how much are we getting per person per scenario?
Yeah.
This year they did do a decrease across the whole state as far as the funding they have based on the issues that ODMH has actually had. So I had a conversation with Tammy yesterday or on Monday, and we were talking about next year's contracts and just some different things in the treatment court programs. And we're hoping that we'll get back up again. But we did see a cut last year from the previous year. But yeah, they're still saying that based on their situations that they're giving as much as they can, but for the last year, they were supposed to at the mid-year of this year actually reevaluate, but there was no reevaluation.
So I think it's roughly, so DMH actually compensates Oklahoma County for everybody we have in there. And it's roughly around $83 a person. The overhead part of your salary, part of everybody's. And so they're not trying to fund us fully. Is that what you're saying? So
yeah,
I keep looking at that number. Like we have 480, but they're only funding us at 420, 430. Yeah. And they're just saying that's as much as we can give you?
Yeah, pretty much. That's where we stand right now. So they did use, whenever we talked about this at the beginning, Cohen and I had a conversation with several of them, is whenever we brought up that, hey, you're cutting our funding, then they were real quick to say, well, you should be able to absorb that through the 781, which we do absorb some of that. But then what happened in that contract is after they put out the criminal justice manual for the year, some of the items that we had written in the 781, which was like incentives and indigent drug testing, that we were not having to spend our core contract for, so that allowed us to do more with that, to service more in the areas of salary and expenses. Then they came back and said, well, actually 5% of your core contract has to be spent on incentives and indigent drug testing. So they told us that in about January when they released that, which was already 6 months in. So now it comes out to be about $36,000 that we have to spend on indigent testing and $36,000 that we have to spend on incentives, which is not a problem. The indigent testing will spend way more than that on drug testing, which you'll see on the next slide. But the incentives, we had all that written in 781. So we're in the process of reducing 781 and moved it into another category that we use. So we have to kind of play some chess here to get us back to where we're spending.
You say, so DMH is saying we're going to give you less money, and the money that we're giving you got to spend it differently than you spent in the past. Because right now, like it's roughly their funding is about $50,000 less than what we should be getting annually from them. In the past. They're just saying it's just budget cuts and just suck it up.
Yeah, so far that's what they said. But yes, the criminal justice manual goes through and it tells you what categories you can spend the funds on that the ODMH core contract says. And it never had said that you have to spend it specifically this way. Just here's the approved categories. So like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. These are all approved. This year it came out and it was like, hey, these are all approved, with the caveat that 5% of your total contract has to be spent on indigent testing, 5% has to be spent on incentives. So that did change this year. So yes. So
okay.
Are the numbers consistent with when we were getting that much money? Are the numbers consistent with what we had then, or the numbers went down with the funding?
The numbers as far as participants or applications or?
Yes, participants.
We're actually going up. So we've got a funding going down and actual participants going up. So we're going in different directions.
On page 2, where it's talking about the in and out numbers and the application data, I see that it says at the bottom approvals for January were 17 and February were 30, which is a total of 47. And then I see admissions were 11 and 15. So around 26. So 26 people let in, but 47 were approved. And so are those individuals just waiting in jail pending admission to the program?
So it depends on what their bond situation is. So if they're if there were somebody, like you're gonna see that more of your population in DUI is gonna have private attorneys and bond out, so most of them are not sitting in actual court. The ones that I would say in the Dreams Court, when we get over to that, and to drug court, will be the individuals that a lot of them are sitting in county jail. So once you get approved, there's just so everybody knows the process is once you get approved, you have to go through orientation. And the whole reason for that is to make sure that you understand what you're signing up for. So whenever they go in front to plea in front of the judge, they will know. Because sometimes you have people that get into orientation, they're like, well, hold up, it sounded good whenever I was sitting there, but now you tell me I got to go to, do drug tests, and I have to do this, and I have to do this. I'd rather go take my time, or I want a different thing. So some people do back out, but we want to make sure they understand what they're agreeing to do before they get in front of the judge to plea. So that's the first step, is getting them to do orientation. We hold out of custody orientations every other Friday, and then Madison and the team go over to the jail to do the in custody ones for all drug court, DUI, and mental health court. So those are all done. DUI court, like I said, most of them are out. Those are scheduled on a one-on-one basis with the DUI court coordinator. We find that best practices talks about the not mixing your populations. Before, we were doing the drug court and the DUI court orientation together, but they're a different population and they have different requirements, such as some of the DUI folks have to have interlocks. So we want to make sure the time we have with them that we're focusing on the program they're in and not getting them confused and crossed. So after they do the orientation, then the plea comes in, and that's where we're seeing a couple of different things. Out of custodies, as some attorneys take a while to get the plea scheduled. Some are real good about like, hey, I want to get on there. And then the in custody ones, Madison and Judge work on getting those set. I think right now we're out till April. May 5th is where we're out. So there is a little bit of a delay between orientation and getting them let in. So, and some of that, and I think, Judge can speak to that. I believe it's just the capacity of us being able to get to them, if I'm correct.
Yeah.
What needs done, or what can be done to help individuals? Because I know any individual sitting in custody for 60 extra days, obviously that's burden on the jail, that individual staying in. What can be done to speed up the times?
Add new judges.
Is there a plan? I know from what I've heard, a couple of judges have volunteered or said they want to be involved. What needs
that is
to be done?
something we're kind of in the process of proposing and trying to figure out kind of what that's going to look like. Because it's obviously add new judges means lawyers got to be different places, coordinators got to be different places. I was going to address that more in kind of board comments, but the dilemma is obviously, the sheriff, Tommy Johnson, of course, wants everybody out of the courthouse by 5 o'clock, like have the 6 o'clock dockets, which I kind of agree with. I'd like to be out of the courthouse before 6 or before 5 before it closes. It's just numbers. I mean, we're one of the largest drug court programs in the United States, and you probably have the fewest judges working on it. And so it's just, you got to make a decision if we're going to follow a best practice standard, which is spend the amount of time with the people that we need to have, or I have giant cattle call and just get them in and out and just kind of, and so it's a numbers thing. I don't know. I don't have a proposal this time as to what a really good working model would look like. We do need to add, in my opinion, 2 new judges minimally, that would have capacity for at least 60 people per judge. We just pick up 1 extra doc. So that's the goal. That 2 judges.
Would they be doing those dockets every day, or I know several of those?
It'd be like a little bit like Judge Dishman, which is Judge Dishman had the veteran treatment court. He has it set on a Tuesday afternoon, and so it'd be judges would just add 1 docket with about 60 people. How it would work. But then obviously figuring out where coordinators and lawyers also can be in different places. We have one solution that may work relatively quickly with the referee, but be able to add an additional docket would still find courtroom space is a little bit of an issue too. So I'm having conversations with Judge Stinson. There's ongoing conversations with Judge Stinson.
That would affect other offices too, such as ours. We provide them with clerks, so our clerks, they work overtime, then I have to let them off. And I explained it to judges on other things, if they want to go to some meeting on a Saturday, want their clerks to come to some meeting, then that, during that week, they're gonna miss that clerk for 7 hours. Because that clerk cannot work beyond 40 hours. The same with bailiffs, the same with the officers staying late, so it touches a lot of areas of the courthouse.
I mean, I've been working really hard to do just kind of, just fast as possible. I am not following a best practice standard in terms of just the amount of time we spend at the bench with individuals. The new guidelines that we got from Washington D.C. and also has been adopted by Oklahoma Department of Health require a far more extensive individual inquiry to everybody. It's not just how many sober days you got, how many missed UAs. I mean, it's a much deeper analysis, which is good. We're going to have a higher level of treatment. I think we're going to have more success in the program because we have closer attention. It's just a lot more labor intensive to do it. And it's just put this way, if it was easier, obviously we'd have had to figure it out by now. It's just tricky stuff. Yeah.
So I can kind of answer the cap in the short term. So the cap in the short term is a little bit different than, so we were operating, Ms. Malone, if you have a comment on this, jump in. We were operating at the people pending at around 100 to 100, maybe 80 to 120. Somewhere in January or February, I spent 18 hours and I got it down to about 30 on a weekend. So that made all the people that were pending, they were either denied or now they're in the slot. So that sitting in jail backup, we might clear out, right? Because now my goal in our office is to keep it at a low number so that I and my staff know, well, this person is on the spreadsheet, we're waiting for their NCIC, this person, we're waiting to hear back from another county, this person, da 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 da. But we are running into problems once they're in, where we don't have the amount of time to spend. The judge doesn't have the amount of time to spend because each docket is so big. And it does get into best practices. And the other thing everybody has to kind of remember is the more time we spend, the more we follow the best practices, the more likely there's a success rate, the more likely that person is out of the system, which is great for them, and saves the county money, which is great for us, because they're not cycling back through. And so we tend, especially if you guys came and sat and watched a drug court docket, and a health court's a little different. Judge, you jump back in here to focus on the people who are the fires, essentially, who are the people that are coming in most in crisis. There's limited time, the dockets run late, et cetera, et cetera. So if we had more judges to spread this out, Judge Stoner and the other judges would be able to spend more individualized time with them. And so that's really the ideal. I think you said one time when you had a meeting, San Antonio has.
Well, yeah, San Antonio has 28 treatment court judges. We have.
They have one of the most successful DUI. Our trickiest court is DUI. Our highest recidivism rate, not here, but nationally, is DUI.
Harris County, we have 180 people. They have 250. They got 8 judges. We got half of one. And so it's just, you get this crossroads. You got to figure out, well, am I going to follow a best practice standard? Which, if you're in the civil world as judges, we have people come in and they say Integris didn't follow a standard of care, Mercy didn't follow a standard of care, and we want to sue them. We call it malpractice if you're on another docket. In our courtroom, like, well, we're just trying to do the best we can. We're not really following a standard of care. And so that's where you get this crossroads where you just got to make a decision. Are you going to try to follow a standard of care that you're supposed to do with everybody, or you're just going to get everybody through and just turn the numbers up? It's just a tricky thing to figure out, and I've been doing my best to carry all of it for a long time. And I think we just have to come up with a new version of it that works well, or just reject our best practice standards and just say we're not going to follow those. That's the way I look at it.
What is San Antonio's population?
It's significantly large in Oklahoma County. Yeah, probably.
There is kind of this bad tradition in criminal law that I think goes down to.
We do need more judges. I told you the truth.
Right.
They do have about 1 million, maybe 1.5 million more people than we have.
Yeah.
Yes, it's probably twice the size, but if we followed their a per rata ratio, we'd have 14 judges here. So instead of 2.5, 3.5, we'd have 14.
We thank you, E.
You're right. Okay. Yeah, right.
There is kind of a tradition, unfortunate, that I think Oklahoma County could reject in that in criminal law, it is underfunded across the board, starting with law enforcement, starting with jails, starting with PDs. I don't remember what a defense attorney is supposed to carry. I think it's a recommended docket of like 50 to 60 open cases. There isn't a public defender's office in the country that carries that. The DA's office is overswamped. And then DOC is underfunded, and then everyone's surprised that people get out. There's a high recidivism rate and can continue to commit crimes.
And I tell them every day in my office, I average a minimum 1,500 people a day.
Yeah.
A minimum.
Now, I think we're all, this team works really hard. I think everybody works very hard. Right now, I mean, just for the board, you know, a best practice standard would say you're not more than 250 people per judge. And so right now we have 460-ish, but that's myself and then half of a referee. And so right now, by that calculation, we're about 60 to 70 over capacity at the moment. And we still have a waiting list of people to come in. And so that's the rub. And at the same time, we're and I'll talk about this in my board comments, we've been mandated to adopt a new model on how you phase people through the program. And when I say we're mandated, it's like you can either do it or risk losing your funding.
And everything I've read says if you spend more time, it's less chance of coverage. But we don't. It's just like
you're
evictions.
supervised incorrectly.
I said 180 a day for a judge. And
Remind me again, how would we get more judges?
Well, I've talked to Judge Stinson about that, and so we kind of took a poll of other judges in the courthouse, and there are several of them that would be willing to take on the docket. So it's just a matter of them, you know, figuring out when it goes in there, getting them trained, getting it, and of course, getting it staffed with the lawyers and the court clerk. You know, they may be able to. Judge Andrews, when he took over remerge, he was able to utilize the existing clerk and bailiff, and it worked out fine. And but it's getting every time you have court, you got lawyers there, you got a coordinator there, you got a treatment providers there, a probation officer there.
So you're not talking about increasing the total number of judges within Oklahoma County. You're talking about with the existing judges, some of them coming over and helping out.
Ideally, we would add.
perfect world, we would add judges.
Yeah, ideally, we've asked for judges, and
DA.
it's just
Okay, that, I guess that's, so who do you ask? Who provides the judges? That comes out of,
that comes out of the legislature.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that usually is part of our presiding judge, you know, advocates for that through our administrative office of the courts. We have asked for another judge. It's unclear how those would be assigned, but
Then it's still, even when we get another judge, it also works on the county, because we're
Right.
advanced. And so we get another judge, now we have to have a court, now we have to have all the
Right.
increases that the county has to provide. And so we need all this, but basically it takes both courts and the county.
yeah, if we really are going to have a modern justice system that works well, that's sustainable, we just want to have that more capacity. If it's sustainable, if we want to be a modern justice system.
It also has to be funded.
It has to be
They
funded, yeah, because, you know,
constantly
like,
put more things on my own. I'm having to do more things, but it's always non-funded.
it's something everybody knows, but it's becoming more and more understood that the modern justice, mental health and addiction drives so much of this behavior. And you're never really going to really move the needle in the big picture until you move the needle on addiction and mental health. That's where you really move the needle on the rest of it. And it does work. It's just like I said, Tim Tardy Bonus used to say, man, stuff ain't rocket science. It's just hard work. You know.
I think my hope is that we've been fortunate in Oklahoma County to 3 or 4 civil judges, criminal judges have offered to carve out time. They already have a clerk and a bailiff, and so they've offered to carve out time. And my hope is that that can happen and we can increase those numbers, and then they see, oh, this helps our state, because let's be real, otherwise those individuals are going to stay in county jail, end up in prison, and the state's going to pay for it one way or another. So my hope is that we show, hey, we have these extra judges, they're willing to take this on from now, look at our numbers, we need additional judges. And then that's kind of my hope, is that we could start with what we have and show the need and everything.
Yeah, and you can see just whenever we look at all the moving parts, is that since I've been here, which is just a little bit over 2 years, that we've seen the actual, I guess the area that slows it down or change. Like for a while it was, we had 200 apps because the DA was working through them. And then now we've got it to where there's small apps. Then you have providers that say, hey, we're at capacity, we cannot. So like your Red Rocks, North Terrace, Hopes, and then because they're also getting the same funding conversation with ODMH. And then you see like, okay, now we've got it to where we've got these two going and now we've got the capacity. So it's kind of just moving around as we, but the downstream effects, that's what we've been talking about. And me, Jim, and Madison have been setting up meetings with the other partners. Like we have one with Team next week to talk about what does it look like for the future. Like, what does it look like for DOC? How do we split dockets? And I'm going to judge, and some of us have had conversations with some of the providers about splitting dockets and actually increasing expansion. So we've been working on that. So there are things that we've identified and trying to work through just while Judge is working on his the plan for the judges. So once we get there, we have something that's already out there, so we're just not starting from scratch. We got judges. Now we got to start on all of this. We're trying to get that ahead of the curve so that if and when that happens, then we're ready to move. So
My office is getting quite a few calls. Sometimes I reach out myself to the arresting officer, detectives involved on the crisis intervention team, sometimes on drugs, but mostly for mental health, where the officer is like, is there anything you can do for this person? We all know, I mean, I've had officers say to me, this guy's not going to do better at the jail. They're just going to end up back on the streets. They're mostly nonviolent. A lot of times for people don't always realize this, for people that are at the bus station and appear scary to everybody in our room, the bad interaction is going to go between law enforcement and that person, one and or both of them. But I've had a lot of conversations with law enforcement where they're expressing frustration that there's no place for this person to go. They're too low functioning, high needs for mental health court, and we all know they're going to just end up right on the streets, right down here. And yet, I mean, there is this, and I know I'm preaching to the choir here. This community doesn't want that person on the street, and yet doesn't want to pay for any place for that person to go to help them stabilize. Now, they may eventually be able to stabilize and re-enter society at some capacity, but they need more up front.
A lot more than we're giving.
Yeah. All right. Any other questions before we go on to expenses? All right. So the next slide is just the drug court expense. This is out of account 1281, which is our core contract from ODMH. You can see, like I talked about earlier, that ODMH requires us to spend a certain amount on drug testing. You can see that we're well over that. So we hit that goal that they randomly gave us in the middle of the year. So that one we're good on. Supplies, salaries, as you'd expect, salaries are our largest expense. I just want to touch on the grant closure for $34,000. So we had a position in the program that was funded by Arnold, that was a strategic director, and that was Melissa Walton before she went to CJAC. Her role was to help with training and to actually write grants and get grants to actually get into the actual drug, DUI, mental health court world. With the political changes that had happened, that was a 2-year funded position that we had for. With the political environment, grants pretty much stopped, and so there was no really work for her to do. An opportunity came up for her, so she left. We had filled it with a pseudo position for a little while, and through just some attrition, that didn't work out as well. So that was the balance that we had already received from R&R that we didn't spend, that we provided back to them. So it was just us breaking even with them on that grant that they gave us for the 2 years for the strategic director position. We had put some of the money in this account so that we could move it to payroll account to pay for her salary. So that's what it is. So that's a one-time, you'll never see that again type thing. So that's not going to go up or down. It's just that. Then we've got the user fees that come in, and we've got the ODMH contract funds. There's right now on the next budget board meeting, there'll be another deposit approved into our account for about $266,000, which was some money that we just our billing for ODMH on our core contract. So that'll get us back into a pretty good spot in that account. We've already pulled payroll for the next 6 months, so we should be in pretty good shape on that one. So And you saw on there, I think we're at about 8,000 on incentives that we have to spend 35,000. There's probably 5,000 in this stack of papers that I'm about to sit down to have checks cut for. So we're on track to hit that as well. So our requirements, we should be good for them on that. So any questions on expenses? All right, we'll jump over to Dreams Court real quick. Same layout. We've got our active participants. This one as well, kind of what Judge was talking about, is that the numbers that they show on the active counts, getting that data in there. We do have a higher rate of AWOLs in the Dreams Court than we do in the others. So this number could fluctuate like weekly as far as how many active. But this is our breakdown for gender and ethnicity and race. And then the next page is going to be the ins and outs again. This court, the biggest one that this court runs is they have 3 providers, Red Rock, North Care, and Hope. This is one that we face the most of, like, hey, we can't take any more participants right now. That, we need to take a break and get caught up on what we have. We see that from these providers more so than anybody else. So that also impacts kind of like what we talked about is we can get them approved and we can get them oriented, through orientation, but we don't have a provider for them, then we can't get them in. So like we run across that quite a bit in this. So that'll show you the information and the denial stuff, and then the demographic data for applications and denials on the next page. So, any questions on that stuff? Then the last page here is our mental health court expense account, which is 1284. So last year, or the year before, we became a test group for ODMH. Something that I worked for them is that we had all our money separated. So we had our mental health court funds, and then we had our drug court funds from our core contract, and you could not spend it in any other place. So if I had a coordinator for Dreams Court or a mental health court, they could not work on a drug court docket or do anything for drug court. So I worked with ODMH and said, how do I get it to where I can spend all my money in one bucket so that I can move my staff as I need? And so, like, if this court needs bus passes, but this court has money and this one doesn't, how do I do that? And this is all pre-781. And they said, let's try something different. Let's just have you have a treatment court budget. So this is the remaining of what we have pulled in the past. Going forward, all our money goes into the 1281 account and it can be spent across. We see that with the salaries. So that's why you'll see this one where we're only spending the expenses that we directly relate to actual Dreams Court, because that money was allocated prior to us doing this, and it's in that account. So I don't feel comfortable saying that now this previous money that was put in there, I can just spend it willy-nilly, because previously they said this could only be spent on that. So we're spending, you can see like their drug test expense in this is quite high. So we're using that to just get the count down. So this is pretty much it. The burn skip, we have a burn skip grant that pays for some various things, like pays for some testing, some training. So you will see a few little deposits into this account, but it's really just for reimbursement for stuff that we pay. So any questions on this?
Burn skip.
Burn skip is through the department or the district attorney's council. And it's a grant that they have that they open up every year to 2 years, and it's for agencies to apply that allows you to work with mental health. It goes for just anything that's in the mental health field. So like we have individuals that have applied for that for like grants for service dogs. We have stuff like, gun safes or gun locks to where it helps public safety. So it's like any agency can apply for it. That's a governmental agency. So the PD's office has one, and the DA's office has a grant as well. The DA's office has some paralegals that work with co-op to help get them through there, so they were able to get the funding tied to that. Ours, we have Glenn, which is our co-op attorney, paid out of that. We've got some funds for med compliance. So in our Dreams Court, a big portion of that population is medicated and should be medicated for doctors. So we have a mechanism to actually test their medication to see, are they on the right meds? So we say they're on this, and they say they're on meds, but does it actually show that they're truly on the meds that they're supposed to be? So we've got funding for that as well. They also allow us some training dollars. so that we can send some individuals to All Rise, which is where we learn about the best practices, where we learn about the new and improved stuff that's going on in the world of treatment courts. So that funds, I think we have about 25,000 in that to spend on training. So that will help send some of the Dreams Court and the co-op individuals to it. So, but yeah, next time it opens up, I'll let all of you know because there's a lot of people. The application I've set on the burn skip board. That's not why this got approved. That's money because I did not vote on that one. But there was not a lot of applications, but there was a fair amount of money out there. So it's one that I'll make sure this board knows next time it opens up. Because like Midwest City Police did some for helping with the getting our co-op clients that are not in there. And I think that one we're working through some. NAMI gets some funding. So it's a huge opportunity for just different organizations to help with that whole mental health crisis stuff. So, and public safety. So, all right, that's all I have. So,
No questions? Okay.
I,
That took care of number 5, 6, 7, and 8 regarding drug and DUI court, the expenses, and then transport finances and statistics. Next, we have number 9, discussion and possible action regarding veterans treatment court statistical.
Good morning, everyone. All right, so BTC, we're going to have a couple additional reports today, but let's go ahead and start off with the basic one. We've added 9 veterans January and February. We have only had to revoke 1 in that time, and we have 4 participants at AWOL. So pretty good as far as the end number goes. This will certainly fluctuate as we go throughout the year as well. But questions on that? All right, next. All right, so I believe in the last meeting, we had yet to receive this report. So we have an independent evaluation built into our BJA grant. We finally got the report back for that. So this is a 2-part report. First is the program data that they reviewed. The data part is really pretty straightforward. You shoot them what you've collected so far. So this data is based on 2020 through 2025. They reviewed all that. And as you can kind of see, they go through all the different categories and make sure that, number one, we're collecting it and it is satisfactory. So as you scroll through this, you'll see that it's a bunch of green checks, and the only ones that we are really, I don't want to say getting dinged for, but they've identified that we are not collecting are admission type. And pretty much their example for that is like they've been readmitted, and it's kind of redundant in the previous software that we're using. It is categorized, it's just not the way that they were wanting it done. So this is something that will be addressed as we switch over to DIMS, which is the new software. So this is kind of a nothing burger on the ding there. And then the next.
You want the next report?
No, I'm sorry. Keep scrolling. The next 2 red X's here are risk score at exit and need score at exit. So as you guys know, we do a validated screening for entry into our programs. What this is requesting that we do is also screen them whenever they leave our program. So this is a process that we do not have in place right now. They're upfront that this is something that is really based upon your ability to screen. So if you have the ability to screen them, it'd be great if you could, but if not, this is just another data point that you could use in future grant writing and say, okay, this is the actual progress that these people are making. This is how you reduce their risk and their need level. So it kind of gives you an additional data point, and that's why it's included in there.
And by the way, in this particular, in our world, the word risk means something different. In our world, risk is a term of art, meaning their likelihood of reoffending. It's risk of reoffending. It's kind of where that comes from. If risk of engaging in further criminal behavior. So it doesn't mean they're dangerous necessarily, but just, they're more like whatever they came in on, or what's their risk level.
And then they have some recommendations down here at the end, and I'll tell you that this is a pretty generalized list. A bunch of these that we do collect, there are some that are contained within their treatment files, such as like PTSD diagnosis, things like that. That's not going to be contained within our tracking of it in their file here. So But it's just a suggestion. On the next page, it also has their summary. And this is pretty much saying that we are reporting comprehensive drug testing results, we're tracking border interactions, and consistently reporting key identifiers, which were all previously identified in this report. Scroll a little bit more, please. Going forward, recommendations. Continue to pretty much enter program entry date, which is the plea date, which has been done. It's something that we had to kick back to them and they corrected it going forward. Let's see, referral information. This is something that, again, that will be updated whenever we switch to DIMS. That will be a category. And then continue to collect good incentive sanction and service adjustment data. Okay. Questions on that one? All right.
Would you be able to get us a report, or that report if we requested?
100%. Yeah. Cassie, I should have brought one. I text Cassie, I was like, bring a paper copy for everyone or just leave it in here. I just decided to leave it in here, so I will definitely make sure anyone else. All right, so next report is the process evaluation. So the process evaluation was consistent of a few parts. Number one, they passed out best practices evaluation to our staff. We filled that out and returned it to them. Next would be team member interviews, and then their site visit. The site visit consisted of a participant focus group where participants were incentivized for participation, saying, hey, just go in here, give us your honest opinion about what's been going on in the program, what's working for you, and that was conducted by them. And then the observation of how our team worked during the observed report date. So, scroll a little bit, please. On the program strengths and recommendations, I want to take a little bit of time to kind of applaud our team. One of the things that they really identify for us is that our team works so well together. There's not infighting. There's not, everyone feels heard. Everyone feels comfortable to say, hey, is this an issue? Let's talk about it. And that's something that they don't always see as they're going throughout the country. So they want to make sure that they applauded us on that. You'll see a couple of quotes on here from their focus group, the participants as well. It's really validating for me as a coordinator and just as a team member to kind of see like, okay, this is actually working for these folks. This is working for these veterans. So we'll scroll a little bit more, please. As you run through the treatment strengths, wide variety of treatment modalities, services, performing full clinical assessments, and creating individualized treatment plans. Scroll a bit, please. And then commitment to innovation and growth. It goes into detail about talking about one of the things that programs need to guard against is program drift, where you get kind of stuck in the monotony of the day. You're doing the same thing over and over again, and through that, your standards drift a little bit, that they recede. So the commitment to innovation and growth helps stifle that and keeps you kind of focused on growing, and in part keeps you from drifting. So certainly they commended us on that part of it. And then this last one is important as well. This is something they always see is veterans who are not eligible for VA services and veterans with violent offenses are allowed to enter the program. So we have a community provider that allows us to still treat veterans who are not VA service eligible and help them out. Scroll, please. And then this just kind of walks through some of the successful implementation items and best practices. All right, and then the priority recommendations. So through some of the team interviews that they conducted, one of the things that was brought up multiple times was continuity on the staff. And turnover is something that it's very hard to predict. So what they are suggesting we do is, understand like we have training materials for each new staff member that comes on. Making them individualized to their role is something that they've recommended to us. So that's something I'm going to work on as far as getting some role specific trainings just for the TC. Scroll, please. And then continue to monitor capacity and time to entry. This is something that is something I think every program is working on. Is we want to make it as fast as possible. Our goal here is 50 days or less from the time they are in custody to the time they are to us in our program. So this is something that we can always continue to work on and try to make it faster because that is a big indicator of success. Okay. As far as the monitoring data entry processes, I've already mentioned DIMS a couple of times. Switching over to DIMS is so beneficial for our programs because it is tailor-made for treatment courts. I'm currently using Connexus, and it's just case management software. Can you do it? Yes, you can, but it's not purpose-made for it. So some of the red X's you saw in the previous report, this will be all taken care of whenever we switch over to this that is tailor-made for tracking treatment court progress and participants.
And when does that switch over?
So Remerge has already made the switch over. I have access to it now, but we're having a little bit of stumble getting some of the historical data from our previous system deposited into the right fields in our new one. So we're working through that right now. Hopefully, this will be operational for our program in a couple of months. Scroll, please. And then recommend next steps, distributing copies of the report to all the members of your team, and then set a meeting with your steering committee, which is you folks, and just kind of walk through any areas that we could improve in, or once we roll this out to our team, we'll go ahead and bring some of those requests back to this board, and that way we will see if we can get a little traction there. Yeah. Action plan. This is just them giving us an ability to kind of take next steps. They just give us a template to kind of work through. So. All right, any questions there? All right, application data. Give you a moment for review. Ask one question. Looks like we've had a total of 9 applications, 6 approvals, 6 denials. Again, these decisions reflect those made between January 1 and February 28, which is why some of the numbers don't line up. Under application demographics, there we go, 15 male, 6 unreported, and then approval demographics as well. I always try to drop this reminder that this is a veteran population that is predominantly male, so you are going to see some skewed numbers as far as male to female interest. And then denial. We have some male, 1 unreported, and denial reasons. Questions? Very good.
And then number 10, discussion of possible action regarding the veterans treatment court budget.
All right, so we're in year 3 of our grant. We have our allocated funds category over here. So far, this is what we have dispersed and remain. What you will not see on this report that you did see on the previous one is the $40,000 cost of the independent evaluation. Since that's no longer in the budget year, you won't see it listed here. Questions around the budget?
Subrecipient.
I'm sorry?
On the subrecipient,
Yes, so subrecipient is our public defender and what would have been our supervision. So we are in the process of doing a GAM request on that because we had allocated funds for DOC to run supervision, but since we switched over to SCLIs, there's a surplus of funds. I mentioned this in a previous meeting. So we're waiting to hear back from BJA if they're going to accept that request or if we need to modify it. So, question? Thank you all.
Any citizen participation? Board comments?
briefly, I just want to, I know we're up against the clock here, but I just want to thank this board and everybody here that works on this team. We really do have, we've got a lot of challenges and things we're working through, but I want you guys to know we have really, really good programs in Oklahoma County. I'm in touch with this whole network of treatment courts across the United States. We just really have, I mean, Oklahoma County has programs that I think we all can and should be very, very proud of. We have incredible team members that work super hard, often around the clock. I mean, just a case in point, just 2 weeks ago, we had one of our participants who texted one of the peer support people at 8 o'clock at night that she was going to commit suicide. She took 50 pills. I mean, really, we put that on our GroupMe account, which we're all kind of plugged into. And there was somebody from our program, I think it was a public defender, actually was over at her house. We got her address and their house within like 25 minutes, and got her stabilized and got her to IMSA, and she's. I mean, it's just there's a lot of really good stuff working. A lot of it's just a really good culture, very good, a lot of very hardworking people that make this thing work. And it's, I just want you guys to know, appreciate the board support for this as we kind of figure out how to transition into even making it better, stronger, building capacity. So I do think we are a little bit on the crossroads because these new guidelines that we're required to follow are a bit of a curveball. It's the right thing to do, but it's even more work. So we got to figure that out going forward. So I just appreciate everybody's support as we go forward with that.
I appreciate those words. I'm amazed by the public members who have those programs out at night and everything else. I think someone has their dog, Moxie, that they're watching now.
Yeah, I've had a dog in my courtroom.
They everybody's taking care of her, so I think everybody involved with the
We're sponsoring a dog participant who's like
Thankfully, she's little.
Yes.
I don't know what we would do if it was like a big dog. Yeah.
Future.
And then, by the way, that wasn't the first time this has happened. This is just a recent incident. This is actually kind of how the team functions. You know, and it just seems like we also had an overdose death last week that was just really difficult for a lot of us, for our participants who just had a baby, actually had an accidental overdose and died. We go through a lot. We are just like kind of big, really hardworking family, but doing great stuff. And this board should be, I think, very pleased to know how well the program actually worked despite all the stuff that we're still having to go through.
Any new business? Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Everybody in favor?
Aye.
And Rick Anderson.
Rick.
I didn't mention this too.